Peace. This is White Raptor News Ministries picking up at Numbers 9. Do you suppose they call this chapter Numbers is because they're giving you a lot of numbers? And when they take these censuses, this census, I kind of think that taking a census was the first account of a tracking device, knowing who people were, where they were, and setting them up in a line of order where there would be those that are in power and those that are servants. So the bottom line is the God of this plane of existence has condoned slavery and said that it's okay to have slaves. I don't see the supreme spirit of truth, the living God, condoning slavery or one man having power over another man. I think that when those of, say, lesser common folk wake up and understand that they are slaves to a higher race of beings that have put themselves over you, and you snap out of it and you stop serving them, then you can come together as a community and start serving yourself, because community means communism, and communism has been shoved down our throats as something that is evil, and communism isn't evil, folks. Communism is communism, community, communism, community. The evil on this plane of existence has ruined our language and got us so twisted and baffled with it that we don't understand what's really being said within the language. This language itself is the speak of calling on other gods' names. There's no way around it. When you speak the English language, you are speaking a devil language, a hidden language within the language that you don't even understand. I'm like 2-3% into understanding this language. I've just started, a few years ago. And I know by the time I'm dead, I'll be lucky if I have 5% of this language figured out. That's a tremendous amount. In fact, I retract everything I said. I probably have less than 1% of this language figured out, the hidden context that takes place of our language. And if I studied it another 20 years, I'd be lucky if I had another 2 or 3%. But I would love to know that somebody picked up where I'm leaving off, and that this information would start being shared about others, about this system that we live in. So let's go ahead and begin. Chapter 9 of Numbers. The Lord spoke to Moses in the desert of Sinai, Sin-A-I, in the first month of the second year after they came out of Egypt. He said, "Have the Israelites celebrate the Passover at the appointed time. Celebrate it at the appointed time at twilight on the 14th day of this month, in accordance with all the rules and regulations." Now, I don't know anything about these days, because I really don't celebrate any days like this. I just worship God. I love God, and I ask for forgiveness for my transgressions when I walked contrary to his laws. Anything inside of the Bible, the stories of the Bible, I don't focus on. I focus on the message, not the stories. The stories sound like a bunch of horse shit to me, so I just focus on the message that's being brought, the allegories, the metaphors, and what they're really trying to say, because the Bible here is a riddle. Okay, so we're talking here the Passover. The Lord spoke to Moses in the desert Sinai in the first month of the second year after he came out of Egypt. He said, "Have the Israelites celebrate the Passover at the appointed time, celebrate it at the appointed time at twilight, the 14th day of the month, in accordance with all its rules and regulations." I'm sorry, I read that twice. So Moses told the Israelites to celebrate the Passover, and they did so in the desert of Sinai at twilight on the 14th day of the first month. The Israelites did everything just as the Lord commanded Moses. But some of them could not celebrate the Passover on the day because they were ceremonially unclean on account of a dead body. So they came to Moses and Aaron that same day and said to Moses, "We have become unclean because of the dead body, but why should we be kept from presenting the Lord's offering with other Israelites at the appointed time?" Moses answered them, "Wait until I find out what the Lord commands concerning you." So Moses is going to get information from a Lord again who sits behind a tent who can't be seen. Then the Lord said to Moses, tell the Israelites, when any of you or your descendants are unclean because of a dead body or are away on a journey, they are still to celebrate the Lord's Passover, but they are to do it on the 14th day of the second month at twilight. They are to eat the lamb together with the unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They must not leave any of it until morning or break any of its bones. When they celebrate the Passover, they must follow all the regulations. But if anyone who is ceremonially clean and not on a journey fails to celebrate the Passover, they must be cut off from their people for not presenting the Lord's offering at the appointed time. They will bear consequences of their sin. A foreigner residing among you is also to celebrate the Lord's Passover in accordance with the rules and regulations. You must have the same regulations for both the foreigner and the native born. The cloud above the tabernacle. All right. On the day the tabernacle, the tent of the covenant law, was set up, the cloud covered it. From evening till morning, the cloud above the tabernacle looked like fire. That is how it continued to be. The cloud covered it, and at night it looked like fire. Whenever the cloud lifted from above the tent, the Israelites set out. Wherever the cloud settled, the Israelites encamped. At the Lord's command, the Israelites set out, and at his command they encamped. As long as the cloud stayed over the tabernacle, they remained in camp. When the cloud remained over the tabernacle a long time, the Israelites obeyed the Lord's orders and did not set out. Sometimes the cloud was over the tabernacle only a few days, and the Lord commanded they would encamp, and then at his command they would set out. Sometimes the cloud stayed only from evening till morning, and when it lifted in the morning, they set out. Whether by day or by night, whenever the cloud lifted, they set out. Whether the cloud stayed over the tabernacle for 2 days or a month or a year, the Israelites would remain in camp and not set out. But when it lifted, they would set out. At the Lord's command, they encamped, and at the Lord's command, they set out. They obeyed the Lord's orders in accordance with his command through Moses. You know, I just got to say that the Supreme Spirit, as we're told, is using Moses and Aaron to move the Israelites. And they have been doing, it seems that the Israelites have been moved from one place to another place, to another place, to another place. All this movement, all this instruction, pack up, move, pack up, move, pack up, move, all of it. You know what this says to me? How could the Israelites know where they come from? Why didn't the Supreme Spirit move the Israelites into a land where sin didn't exist, something fresh, something beautiful, something clean? Instead, he's always bringing them into the Canaanite cities. He's moving them into these cities of where sin exists. And I just don't get why the Spirit would do that. It doesn't make sense to me. Unless the two are meant to be weaved within one another. Again, remember, I've told you that the Supreme Spirit is simply playing a game of chess, and he is both players, okay? In this particular case, if God is sitting at a chess set with himself playing a game of chess by himself, then there really is no good or evil, is there? If it's only God sitting and playing a game by himself. What's so brilliant about this is the power that he has made you, and made me, and none of us can tell the difference. You really believe that you are you, and that we are all individuals. We are of ourselves, but what you don't understand is we are not. We are all divinely intertwined with one another, both good and evil, and the fabric of good and evil cannot exist one without the other. So how does punishment work then? Well, the spirits let us set laws and commandments that we follow. And then when you don't set laws and commandments, you don't follow those laws and commandments, then what he has created evil, he sicks on you. It's that simple. If you're a fornicator, then he's going to, male or female, then he's going to bring you partners that are fornicators. And if you're fornicators, then what usually happens is you get a lot of headaches, you get problems, you get liars, you get women that are thieves, you get women that cheat on you, men that cheat on you, men that are thieves. It goes both ways. And this is how the Spirit corrects us. He says, don't do this, then you don't do it, then you don't get punished. You didn't do it. You're not engaging in that sin, so you're not going to get punished for it. But if you do, then you're going to get punished. And the more you engage in it, the harder you're going to get punished. Eventually what happens is you fall in love head over heels with the one that is the woman or the man of your dreams. You just have to have this person. You do anything in the world for them. You finally get them. You fall in love with them. You just give everything. You finally, for the first time in your life, you're giving everything into this relationship. Oh no, now it's time. It's payback. that person you've fallen in love with is going to be a fucking nutty, wacky person there to destroy you and rip your fucking heart from your chest. And that's the way it works with fornicators. Such is the same with murderers. You shed a man's blood, and then by man's hands your own blood shall be shed. That's what the Bible tells us, that this is a balanced system. So do right, walk righteous, do righteous things, and you'll have a pretty decent righteous life, man. If you're serving the Spirit of truth other than the carnal material world, you're going to do much better. I truly love God's chosen children, whoever they are today, because there's so much intermingling taking place. The only way we can know a man by his fruits is to talk to them about God. And that's why I'm in this fight. Much love to all the children that serve one God. This is White Raptor News Ministries.